while. We were busy last week with the Web Summit. I hope some of you got to visit us in our booth. But we're back with another session with Dr. Estera. So those of you who've attended the previous session, we got a lot of great feedback, and she's in town, so we're happy to have her. And we're gonna dive deeper into Fabric, specifically Fabric data engineering workloads. So how many data engineers do we have here in the room? Nice, good. So please, take this opportunity to get as much knowledge from Dr. Estera. For those of you who don't know Dr. Estera, she used to work at Microsoft as well as part of the product team. She worked very closely on our Azure data services, and now she's the CTO of Cloud on Mars, which is a partner company of Microsoft, who has presence also here in Qatar, that work a lot on data and AI initiatives. I'll give it over to Dr. Estera, but just for those of you who it's your first time attending the community session, we run these events every week. We have a place where we update people on WhatsApp and LinkedIn. If you're not familiar with that, just find me or Fatah later after the session. Dr. Estera?
Thanks a lot. So, hey everyone. As Fatma said, I was part of the Fabric product group building Microsoft Fabric, especially accountable for data engineering and data science. But the data science engine and capabilities are based on the capabilities coming from data engineering. And I was thinking, like the last time we were doing the introduction of what's the vision where Fabric is in terms of the integration of data from SAP, from Oracle, through shortcuts, mirroring. And now I would like to do something tangible. The recent, not sure if on your side, but right now, every day I'm walking up and seeing there is yet another tool generated by AI, and the piece of innovations is so rapid, and the piece of how we create and use the product is so rapid that today my two objectives are: the first, I would like to do the live demo and show you how you can use in the most efficient and productive way VS Code with GitHub Copilot, with models like coming from OpenAI, GPT. I'm using personally Anthropic, so Claude, and the newest Opus, but how to make one environment where you can start, and with the usage of Fabric MCP server, do everything from the command line. But before we'll do the demo, and I will show you how you can also do that with me, just observe, ask questions at the same time, really encourage you to start testing those tools. I want to give you an explanation, deep dive into Fabric data engineering. I believe that this is the fundamental pillar of Fabric. Why? Because Fabric's heart is one leg, so a storage where you want to keep your data. How you move the data there? Through, for example, Azure Data Factory in the context of Fabric is just Fabric Data Factory. But moving the data, it's super reactive. So you land the data and what? Keep it, observe, it's there? No, you want to start processing. You want to start analyzing. And the beauty of Fabric data engineering is that because you have data in one place, you are getting a product that from one side is helping you doing low code. From the other side, yes, you can code using different languages. So from those who are coming from the data warehousing world, yes, you can use or move from T-SQL to Spark SQL. For those who are coming from machine learning world, data science world, you can start using PySpark, Python. For those who are coming from the statistical side, you can start using R language. So the point is that Fabric is allowing you to do data processing. And the value of keeping the data in just one lake is there. The data is secure, structured, but the beauty, the biggest impact is coming when you start processing that data. And this is what I will show you today. And also we'll show you what kind of features I recommend you to use to make this processing fast. And fast means cheap. Why? Because you pay for the usage. So that's why we'll talk about Fabric data engineering, deep dive from natural language to deployed pipeline. everything from the VS Code, that's why we do the live demo, but also a few talks. Oh, I need to connect. Can I get maybe the Microsoft? Super.
Oh, no, that's not the latest one. Let me get it.
As my hotspot is reconnecting from time to time. That's why I think the best way would be to connect to
Oh, were you disconnected? If you want, you can connect with my.
I will connect
Oh, okay, sure.
to the passcode. Yeah.
S, capital MS, hyphen. Don't have capital T.
Just much.
So maybe just while this is getting started, maybe Dr. Sir will also cover it. How many of you are already using Fabric or have heard of Fabric?
Okay.
Maybe we should introduce it for those.
Fabric is super. So in that context, because here, again, coming from Europe, I moved to US and decided to go back to Europe, at the same time visiting Qatar from time to time. And building Fabric there was giving the super big view and scale. But the context is that I'm coming for you here. We have 2 hours and I'm here for you. That's why bring as many questions as you have, because then I can navigate through those topics. And because I prepared a few artifacts I want to show you today, at the same time, I'm not stick to them, because for me, the most important, as also as an academic teacher, the most important is outcome. Outcome for today, for me, is that you will get the meat, meaning the knowledge in the terms of the content. What's the most important? Good. So now, in terms of Microsoft Fabric, so let's start with that, and I will do the full screen. Microsoft Fabric is the unified data platform. So it's a SaaS-based data platform. And it means that for the very first time, you are getting an engine that is allowing you to process big data as well, data coming from the different systems through different engines. By them, I mean Data Factory, natively integrated, data engineering, meaning Apache Spark, a library that is built for big data processing, and it means terabytes of data. It means petabytes of data, many times in real time, and many times also in batch mode. We are getting capabilities to use data science artifact, meaning that once we move the data to a central place, and the heart of Microsoft Fabric is one lake. So once we have a data, we want to do data engineering, means analytics, and then we want to do data science, meaning that, okay, I have a table, I want to use this table, those columns, to train the machine learning model to do some classification. Then later on, who from you used data warehousing capabilities? Meaning that you remember Azure SQL Data Warehouse. Those capabilities has been moved to Microsoft Fabric under the name of Data Warehousing Engine. Later on, we are getting another integrated pillar, real-time analytics. So in one SaaS tool, you can start processing the data in a flight. That's why real-time analytics means Data Explorer, Azure Data Explorer engine. And don't worry, I will do the demo. You will see now just the pillars, but imagine all of them are integrated in one tool. The cherry on the cake, Power BI. Please raise a hand if you ever used Power BI. So visualizations. For those who didn't raise a hand, I believe that we are using Tableau and you are migrating Tableau to Power BI starting from tomorrow. So Power BI as a cherry on the cake, building business intelligence, building reports coming on top of the data. And data activator, so ability to start alerting on specific thresholds that we are putting on our data, meaning making our data actionable. And what, in fact, I want to focus on today is the data engineering pillar, meaning that you move the data to Data Factory, so Azure Data Factory, which is super similar to Data Factory. In fact, it's meaning that Azure Data Factory is kind of a father of Data Factory in Fabric. The same code, just all of the optimizations right now are landing in Data Factory. But you can see different engines decoupled from storage. So storage decoupled from compute, please.
Data Factory is same thing as pipeline in Fabric. We have pipeline and we have data flow chain too.
Yes. So Data Factory in Microsoft Fabric is having a few underlying capabilities. One of them is building pipelines, so collecting, moving the data, transforming. The second one is data flows Gen 2, so processing that. But there is also another one, for example, Airflow. If you have an orchestrating engine on-prem running on VMs or on Azure, you don't have to handle that anymore. You can use Airflow managed by Fabric as part of Data Factory. So Data Factory, this team named Data Integration, is accountable for move the data to one lake, to central storage. Important aspect, we have Delta Lake. Delta Lake is an open source library created by Databricks company, open sourced, not fully, to be honest, but open sourced in some aspects by Databricks as well. And lots of products on the market picked up this format as a standard, as an open standard. That's why I want you to remember that we have one lake as a storage for the corporate enterprise data. And once we build a lake house, so a capability that will allow us to keep our tables in a structured, organized way, it's going to be based on Delta Lake library and natively integrated. Okay? So we'll focus on data engineering. We'll focus on Apache Spark, mostly as I was jumping into IT world in 2012. And of course, I was I liked assembler, C++, and so on, those languages, just to learn baseline. Later on, I was thinking everyone is coding in Java or .NET, and I was thinking I don't like none of them. Let's pick up something different as a main programming language. And there was a language created by one of the universities in Switzerland named Scala. Scala was both object-oriented and functional programming language, and very quickly a few open source libraries started to be based on Scala. One of them is Kafka, the second is Apache Spark. And because of that, because of knowing Scala, it was easy to jump into the world of processing big data with using Apache Spark. And now to the point of the Spark architecture. So we will talk about processing the data, processing big data. And we need to understand, or more or less have a clue of what is the architecture of Apache Spark to see the value. And also understanding that will give us the knowledge what functionalities in Fabric we should enable or not. So at the end, we'll have one question I will ask, and for the winner, there will be a prize for Fatma. The reality is that the question will be more about, so how many nodes I should have, or what is the difference between Pandas and Apache Spark? How many nodes, if you have, for example, a compute cluster with 16 nodes, should I use Pandas or Spark? And you will get that understanding during the talk today. So the reality is that we have different systems, lots of files. Let's assume that we have 1,000 of CSV files. Each of them is not a small one with multiple millions of rows. And you want to run a query, okay, some sophisticated query grouped by categories, for example, the sales outcome, or there is a specific business question. At the end, Spark is building the query. The query is about selecting through all of the CSV files, selecting and calculating what's the point of sales summary for the last week. Very quick one. So as a business user, I want to see just the result, but then the result is coming from millions of CSV files. How to run it? Here, jumping to the architecture. And maybe I will get the pointer. I think I have it. Yes, super. Super. So take a look. We are getting lots of different files. This is just a visualization. We are getting access to lots of database data, sources, files, CSV, Excels, and so on, Parquet, Delta tables. But at the end, and this is done by Fabric behind Fabric Data Engineering, for every query, select star from the table named or from the folder. Fabric is building for you a Spark context, which is basically a Spark session, and then translating your specific query into the stages and the tasks. Meaning that Spark is building the logical and then physical plan to execute your query. And we are talking about the situation when you are asking a query on top of your data, and the size of the data is bigger than your single node, single machine. To give you an example, imagine you have a laptop, right? What's the memory for this laptop? 32. Wow, a lot. But let's assume that in normal cases, we have 16 gigabytes. So when you run some queries, you have 16 gigabytes of RAM to do the processing. And imagine you need to process 1 terabyte of data. How to do it? You are doing in chunks. So if you recall the Hadoop-based processing, which was MapReduce, meaning that you have a task, you split them, you map them to the specific chunks, you execute them one by one, and then at the end, you summarize the output. With Apache Spark library that has been introduced in 2010, the change is that we use RAM memory, so the computations are faster. Once we have a query, we are taking a look, what's the cluster we have access to, and we are chunking and making the computations concurrent. At the end, if you have a one node machine, one cluster, and you run one query on the 1 terabyte of data, it will take a while, a day or two. Once we have Apache Spark and the cluster with multiple nodes, the library is understanding this hardware, and with the power of software, parallelizing the computations. So here we are getting a query. Query is split into the different executors, so different workers. We'll configure that in Fabric, how many of them you should have. And the computations is starting. And Fabric, Microsoft Fabric data engineering experience is helping you, first of all, with cluster management. In reality, if you would need to install Spark on your laptop, you can do that. It will take, an hour or two. If you need to create a Spark cluster in your enterprise, it will take 2 weeks. In Fabric, it's configured. Everything is deployed because it is a SaaS. We don't care about, like Microsoft has to care because they handle it. But what we care is, as a user, just to have access to data and write the right code, nothing more. So cluster management is handled by Microsoft. Then cost optimization in terms of the tailoring the infrastructure is handled by Microsoft. Configuring the runtime, the libraries, just to run data engineering, data science, as well handled by Microsoft. Scaling up mechanism, meaning that I'm starting with 2 nodes, then scaling up to 16 nodes if it's needed, handled by Microsoft. At the end, the runtime, the full package is delivered by us, and what we need to get and make sure that we have access to is just data, and what's the use case we want to implement. So now let's go to, so once we have the understanding of Apache Spark, so big data processing library, and that the storage is compute from, it's decoupled from compute in Fabric, meaning that we have a storage, and on top of that, we'll run jobs with using data engineering.
Dr. Estera, I have a question.
Yes, please.
Like I'm just imagining, I don't know what Spark is. Like, can I use the analogy of a kitchen to explain Spark? So for example, can I think of the master node as like the head chef, and then the worker nodes as like the actual cook? So let's say if I have to,
Yes,
and then like the master node just tells all of the cooks like this, you need to make dough, you need to do this. So you split the process. So that's why it's parallel processing and it's faster. And then why you would do it on Fabric is because instead of you buying the kitchen, maintaining the ovens, finding the cooks, recruiting all these people, like Fabric maintains them.
Exactly. This is a beautiful analogy. Really is exactly the point, meaning that we are a group of 40, 50 people right now. Imagine that we have a job to do. And should I, you will see, then I will just do the job and observing when we'll finish. No, it's about the teamwork. And Fabric is exactly about splitting the task. And that's why there is an optimizer, a mechanism that is splitting a task into the available resources and then executing them in the most efficient way, in the most fastest way. Super. And bring more questions. Yes.
How the files have been validated. Let's say one of the file has some special character, etc. So
special character meaning
CSV we have, and it is a broken line.
Yes.
So how I'm saying like I'm doing a group by group.
Yes. So
there is an error somewhere in one file. So what happens?
So because the architecture of Apache Spark is in a way that, okay, we have multiple executors that are doing the job, and you are processing different files, different data. The reality is that each of the worker is having some either portion of the file or just a file. And then, because we see that the entire task is select star from the table and group by, for example, right? And if in specific file there is an error, then the computations will go with all of the files that are correct one. And for this one, when there is an error, we'll get a information that for this file, the task couldn't be completed. At the same time, there is specific self-healing mechanism that at the end, Spark will try to figure out, will notify you that there was missing comma or some issue, but Spark will try to handle making this task to the end. And here, I love this question because you are exactly touching the point why we should not use CSV. So we should use something more structured, meaning Parquet and delta tables, because once we have the schema, the reality that we are missing a single line is not there. Plus, CSVs are not the optimal from the performance perspective to process with big data engines. It's nice just to move the data, but then we need data engineering to exactly process from CSV to Parquets, so to either raw or columnar-based storage format.
In simple terms, for those of people who don't know what Parquet is, how would you define it?
I would define that I have a big file, I'm taking a look at it, like CSV file, and then I'm checking the schema, I'm checking the columns, and creating a very big table, imagine super big table, but which is structured. If there is a null value, I'm putting a null or nil or whatever, 0 or skipping it, but I'm structuring the CSV file. And then because this file is super big, imagine the biggest as possible, and I want to make it optimal for future performance, what I will do? I will take the scissors and chunk it. So Parquet is about having a structured super big table, but chunked to very specific but smaller files with schema already there.
And if people have their data all in CSV, is it very simple for them to convert to Parquet?
Oh, with the biggest pleasure, I will demo a functionality when you just move a CSV file, click convert that to the Delta table, and under Delta table, there are Parquet's file.
You're saying with Fabric, all I have to do is bring my CSV,
Yes.
click, drag and drop,
Yes.
right click, and then boom, I have a...
Exactly. CSV, but also Excel files, JSON or XML exactly. We have a parser. So the core of Microsoft Fabric is the vision that if we want to prepare our environment for AI, we need to have a good data, not messy data. Messy meaning unstructured and lots of not normalized, not necessary files that we need for our business. So the first is to make a clean environment, meaning integrate data from different systems and keep it in a one single clean open format. That is optimized for further processing.
Any questions from the audience? Yes, yeah, you have a question?
How this platform is different from data?
Oh, this is a great question. So let me think on how to position that in the best way. So this is my honest opinion as an ex-former Microsoft person. Databricks is an amazing company, started lots of years ago, creators of Delta Lake, Apache Spark, MLflow libraries. And Databricks is great for companies that are super engineering based, with having a clean data strategy for the company, AI strategy, and every kind of strategies. And Databricks, for sure, is a leader of that space. At the same time, Microsoft Fabric has been introduced because the world is not perfect. Because the companies, they do not have the perfect data strategy, perfect AI strategy. They cannot stop the business, reinvent the wheel, pay big for millions of dollars to have a data strategy that no one is executing. And I'm calling Fabric a Dyson. Not sure if you're using the vacuum Dyson. Not sure if it's a good metaphor, but for me, Fabric is a Dyson. I have one engine and a tube and multiple endings. And if I'm trying to vacuum the floor here or a desk, whatever the kind of the floor is, I'm just changing the ending, not the engine, the core engine, not the tube. And Fabric is for those companies who want to bring and deliver the fastest impact without stopping the business, because you can implement your data strategy as of now without reinventing the wheel. It's many times, and here I'm sharing as I was a worldwide subject matter expert for Databricks. Also, I started my Ph.D. computations on Databricks. I love Databricks. At the same time, this is not an easy platform. They are the leaders in that space for sure, innovators, but many times the functionalities that are coming with are targeting much more sophisticated users, where Fabric is for citizen developers, for Power BI people who want to get more from BI, not only dashboards, but the agentic system without reinventing coding and dealing with tons of different engineering caveats. So those products are super similar. And both of them are available on Azure, whereas both of them are complementary with each other. Both of them can work on the same AD Gen 2 data. And I recommend Fabric.
So our main goal is just to reduce the amount of work on the memory, right?
Yes.
And these slots, the clustering management is it like it's working on the high level or in the actual memory, like slots in the memory, or
Yes.
it's the application itself?
Both. There is so from Apache Spark library, there is a concept of managing hardware and different types how you run. You can run Apache Spark on AKS, and then you are dealing with managing pods and containers. But you can also run on just a normal cluster, as that's in Fabric. And here we have a concept of managing available software and memory within the available software. But then later on, once the execution of the task is happening, then you are dealing with memory available for this specific task. And for that, once we run some Apache Spark job, we can jump in to a functionality named use Spark History Server, which is a gold mine for engineers who want to tweak the performance. There is a specific tab in Fabric which is showing you exactly what's the query, how was that split to a specific hardware, what were the tasks execute, and we can jump into the details. And the details means because Apache Spark has been written in Scala, and Scala is based on Java, so we are getting Java stack trace.
So if we leave the filtering computations on the RAM itself, isn't it better like to give the RAM extra jobs for like doing all this clustering and more computation?
So I would say that in the context of running on-prem, maybe yes, and you need to handle that. But in the context of Microsoft using Fabric or Databricks, leave it that to platform. And meaning that you do the computer, you handle what's the logic behind your query, what you want to achieve. And I will talk about that sometimes pushing for specific cache mechanism, you can do that. Changing specific settings, you can do that. But the best outcome is when you focus what is your query about. You want to do the filtering, super, but do not push for specific optimizations if you do not know how that will happen. And the context is why, as many times the jobs are executed on Fabric are already optimized by the product group. So one of my job as former PG member was I was reviewing. So that is what I could access, that all of the jobs run by customers, I'm not looking at data. I don't care about the data. I care about how people are coming up with different structure of the queries. So I was observing what are the methods, actions, and transformations used by people globally. I was doing segmenting and was optimizing what's the most. For example, I've seen that group buy is, of course, super popular. And then I was optimizing if the developer, engineer is writing group buy in your Spark query, how I can make it faster to be executed on the hardware that is available. And for me, the hardware was both specific virtual machine that is behind the engine, specific runtime. But you as a user, because you are getting a SaaS tool, you should not handle it, because that's the promise of SaaS. You want to get a query, you want to write a query and get the result. You want to ask a question and get the result, not to tune the hardware, because it's supposed to be a SaaS.
Okay, so it's extra work on the memory, but it's faster.
Yes.
Okay.
Now, in terms of the optimizations, I will touch a little. There are different ones because we'll create in a second. I will switch to the demo. We create a job, and the job is executed, and we can optimize a few things. Now, this is a framework I was coming up for the previous for one of the conferences in Austria. That, in a nutshell, for every job, it's Databricks, Spark, whatever. We can optimize data layer, databases, data sources. Later on, we can optimize the engine. So those three are about optimizing the engine, and this one is about optimizing the data. So because data, so storage is decoupled from compute, so what we can optimize? Either storage or compute, or both of them, because they are somehow connected. So for the storage, I can optimize data layer. For compute, I can optimize hardware, engine, and runtime. And here you touch that I can optimize job and queries. Should I do it? No. Why? Because it's a SaaS tool. So I want to run a query, and those optimizations are promised to happen for us. Are happening? This is evolution. So depending who is saying, but majority of them are. But if we want to, not sure if you follow, there are different level of the sessions. Today, because we don't have everyone who knows Spark and Fabric, I can't run a session level 400, but that question you ask is exactly about how to optimize jobs and queries specifically. Good. Now let's show you Fabric. Let's show you how it's working. And here, I will do that. No need to make you. Super. So this is Apache. This is Microsoft Fabric. Remember this diagram? Multiple different engines under one Microsoft Fabric tool. I have a workspace, a few ones. Here, let's choose CTO Spark. That's okay. So I have a workspace. A workspace is a very similar concept that is coming from Power BI. So a place where I can manage all of my artifacts. Exactly, like a full. Exactly, and it's also setting the clear granularity for, I can use the workspace as a single person, I can have a personal workspace, but also I can share this workspace with Fatima, and we together will develop a specific solution. I have a workspace settings, I can configure the license, so ability to use Fabric. I can configure the specific connections and so on. As you can see, this is a complex place because workspace is a complex type of, I want to say object, but it's not an object. It's, is a concept that is making the protocol, the granularity, how you handle. I like that the explanation that workspace is a folder. Inside this folder, you can create different folders and different items. So here I am going to have a notebook. I'm going to have a data warehouse. Everything what I will do within my workspace will be visible here. And one aspect, take a look, Git status. Git, so for example, Azure DevOps, GitHub is already integrated. So whatever I'm doing here, let's assume I'm building, and this is what I would like to show you today. And the use case will be about, imagine we have a huge, beautiful buildings around us. And our job is to take the data, sometimes in a batch mode, sometimes in the real-time mode, coming from this building. Because building is going to have BMS, building management system, or different IoT devices, checking CO2, temperature, and other parameters. But imagine we want to connect to the building, move the data through Fabric, and then start processing that. So I have a workspace. Inside this workspace, I'm starting with building a notebook. Inside the notebook, I will start processing the data. But now, what kind of data? And here, let me show you the example. Maybe. So
this workspace can be synced to a GitHub.
Exactly. Right now, exactly. I can use DevOps, Azure DevOps. I can use GitHub Actions as well. And the provisioning of the workspace here, it's not happening through Bicep. It's happening, and we'll do that, Terraform or MCP server for Terraform or Fabric CLI, some libraries. But at the end, yes, from the day one, you are getting something what is encapsulated in a workspace with a Git. So today we'll work on that. I can push on GitHub, and tomorrow you can do a fork and start working on your environment. Okay, now, yes,
like an hour and 10 minutes.
Oh, I would love to have more.
Unless everyone wants to stay back.
Yes. One more thing, Fabric is going to be available in Qatar region soon. Soon, again, Microsoft is sharing that tentative ETA is after Ramadan. And at the same time, it's let's assume it's April, maybe up to August. It really depends. It's not related. And the concept, the caveat is that it's really related to supply chain, meaning that in the specific data center, there must be specific machines, and landing those machines takes 2 years, with specific software installed and lots of different caveats. That's why the Microsoft team is working heavily to get it available in Qatar region. It's going, everyone is waiting for it. At the same time, if there is a possibility and you can use West Europe or Sweden certain.
By the Ministry of Communication.
Exactly, so you can start building the POCs or building the solutions already there. And for the data engineering, this is the visualization. For the data engineering, there are two most important items, either notebooks or Spark job definition. I love practical examples, so let me show you the notebook. A notebook here, for example, Spark demo notebook. A notebook is an artifact A notebook is a type of similar to Jupyter notebook. So it's a place where you are writing your code with a split of the cells. So I will go back to the end because this notebook is
How many
quite
of
big.
you worked with Jupyter notebooks before? Okay, so you
Lovely, super. So I don't have to explain everything, but here a mix of the code and a mix of the markdown, a mix of the markdown and the code written in here, a few languages: PySpark, Scala, Spark SQL, SparkR, and HTML. Good. Now, what's very important, you are getting Copilot as well. So for those who want to accelerate faster development, please as well enable it. Yes, so my specific way, and that's the demo, is rather I want to show you VS Code integrated through DevOps, so through Git, so I can locally develop on my VS Code integrated with Claude. Once I have changes, I'm pushing to Git. Git is pushing to DevOps. DevOps is pulling to Fabric. So this story. Exactly. But here, Notebook is allowing you to basically start processing your data. Meaning that, let's imagine I will create a new notebook because this one is super about how to optimize Spark to run to be fast. But here I'm creating new item. Here, finding notebook. Let's select and put a name Doha. Okay, I click create. And remember, for everything I'm doing from through the UI, we are getting the CLI and REST API means MCP server as well. That's why I'm clicking, but then we'll just write a comment that in this workspace, I want to get a notebook using PySpark that will process the data coming from my lakehouse. And Claude will do that, which is terrifying. So we have a notebook. First of all, let's start processing the data. Where is my data? The data is coming from different sources, from real-time hub, from a new lakehouse, but also from, One Lake catalog. I'm selecting from One Lake catalog. Here, I have a few lake houses already available. So imagine you are working for a company, building the access, you are creating a notebook, so you already will have access to some lake houses. If not, you will create a lake house through data pipelines as well. But lake house is an item, artifact that is keeping your data organized, both structured and unstructured. What does it mean? Let me show you that. I will create, for example, this Lakehouse Silver customers that I created for Vienna. Okay, let's connect. So the Lakehouse is going to be added here. Lovely, we have it. One lake, Silver customers. So the Lakehouse is here. And here, structured means tables. Unstructured means files. Here, raw data. Take a look. I have CSV files. In tables, oh my God, I have 0 tables. What I should do? I should use a functionality to transform CSV to tables. I can write. Yeah, like it's a line of code, but why we should code? We should just use.
Click and drag.
Yes, let's do it. So I will go to one more time to a different place. So to my workspace, I will go to a lake house, which I connected, and maybe I'm using the same portion of data, but this is the data with the same example. Let's open it. Yeah, no tables. Here I have lots of files. Lovely. We see that. Let's focus on, let's say that CO2 data. So here, this is the example. Exactly. First of all, we don't have a header. We'll have to figure out, not as a first row as a header, but let's the Fabric figure that out. There is a functionality, so I click just 3 dots, load to tables, new table, schema DBO, table CO2, Use header for new columns. Yeah, there are no headers. The separator is comma, load. Just that.
So you're saying that
Exactly. At the same time, if we are in an enterprise environment, of course, I would code, as that's also my approach to have everything descriptive. But from the other side, to show you the purpose of this tool is just for those who don't want to code, there is an experience for you. And for those who want to just code and never open Fabric UI, there is also an ability through CLI. Of course. Exactly. Take a look. There is I just click refreshed. There is under the schema DBO, there is a table CO2. And now it's just loading. Yeah, I have it. Of course, with a strange column names because there were no header, but it's there without coding. So imagine your business users. You give them ability to sideload the data, CSV files, Excel files to one central place when you finally can keep the schema on. And because of the schema, in the future, we do not have so many challenges with data quality. Good. So I have I have the data. So now let's go back to Doha notebook and let's start coding. So here I click the refresh. But this is not the lakehouse, by the way. We added the demo. 1 second. This is the lakehouse. Let's take a look. Tables, DBO. Yes, there is a CO2. Okay, and this is not needed. As you can see, by the way, I have a notebook. I can have multiple lakehouses. And this is the very first time, this is an advanced topic, cross lakehouse queries. Imagine you have a lakehouse for your domain customer, a lakehouse for the HR department, for sales department, for marketing department. And for the very first time, you can start querying in one notebook data across all of them. So this is the way to get 360 on your business. But here, go back. Let's go back. So I have CO2 data. So we had a CSV file. We transformed that with using load to tables. And now let's start coding without coding. So drag and drop. Let's see. Oh my God, we got a line of a code. And see, by the way, we didn't configure any cluster. We didn't configure anything. Just drag and drop a few clicks. And yes, can we run it? Let's run a cell. Let's see what will happen. Yes, the Spark session started in 6 seconds. Now we are running a Spark command that is going to display our specific table. Of course. So like the example we started here is that once you install Spark on your PC or in any machine on premise and on different cloud providers, you will wait for the Spark session. Also in Synapse, you will wait for the Spark session around 2 to 3 minutes, like 2.5, like 2.2 minutes, 30 seconds to 3 minutes. Why? Because during that time, Apache Spark, again, back to Java world, needs to create all of the artifacts and all of the readiness to know the hardware, to know the memory that is available for you. Exactly, warming up the kitchen. 3 minutes. And here, what Microsoft did, knowing that we are going to serve this solution to Power BI people and to modern world when no one is having a time to wait 3 minutes for having a Spark. Exactly. We want to get the results now. That's why this cost of running those Spark sessions in a backend is handled by Microsoft. And here, just in 6 seconds, we got the connection to the session and the job has been executed here. Session ready in 12 seconds, executed in total 29 seconds. No. So there is something called idle time. and you can parameterize the idle time. In Apache Spark, it's the default 20 minutes. In Fabric, it's also idle stage for the Spark session. You can change it, you can impact it. You can increase the time for this session. The beauty is that because you start the session and in 15 minutes, once I will run the same job here, because the idle time is 20 minutes. So in 15 minutes, I will reuse the session. It will be ready for me in a second, not in, again, 10 seconds. And what's the most important? You do not pay for the idle time. In Fabric, you just pay for the computation, not for warming up, not for the idle time after it.
Because we have notebooks as well.
Yes.
And you pay for idle time.
Exactly. I know. And few different products, in few different products also in older generations, yes, you pay for warming up. Yes, you pay for shutting down. Sometimes shutting down is not done automatically. Here, you pay for executing the query, not for the entire preparation. So imagine we are in a restaurant. We do not pay for sitting at the restaurant. We just paid for getting the food. Yes, getting the outcome. So here, one more time, CSV file, then structuring that load to table, and then drag and drop experience with a code. And yeah, we have access to it.
Maybe some people, but like, why do I need to load into the table? What if I just want to work on it as CSV? Like, what's the benefit if I load it into a table?
So the benefit is fundamental. So CSV, it's a great type of data, format of data, just to bring that for further computations. There is no schema enforcement. There is just a single file which is not optimized for big data processing. So that's why the big data processing means that in a bronze landing zone, I move the data from all of my system. But between the bronze and the silver layers, I want to optimize that for further processing. So I want to forget about CSV and I want to switch to Parquet, which is behind the Delta tables. And here, let me show you now you can believe me, but you should challenge me, show me that. So take a look here.
I have a question. All these activities are just a click away in SQL Server Management Studio as well. To load an CSV, just a single line query. I have a Copilot. I can just tell to the Copilot that I want to get this data from this table. And even Copilot today helped me in, implemented the data masking on my tables.
Yes.
So why would I need Fabric in that case? And I'm getting everything in a recent SSMS.
SSMS. Okay. So I would answer from the angle of having access, what was the purpose of Fabric? The purpose is to integrate all of the company's corporate data in one lake. SSMS has own limitations. It's in a cloud, but also has a specific barrier to jump in, the specific way of writing the packages. And on top of that, you get Power BI somewhere there, but it's not one product fully integrated. And here, the answer for your question would be what else I can get once I'm in Fabric, once I have one single layer of data, on top of which I can use the same notebook for my not only data engineering, but also for data science capabilities and for real-time capabilities. And that's the complexity, and from the other side, simplicity of the tool is bringing and moving the needle for the businesses. That's why SSMS and that word of SQL Server and handling single or multi-node databases is going to be moved or modernized with the approach storage decoupled from compute, and we have the lake houses. But this is also the discussion about should I have a warehouse or a lake house or a single database. Yeah, happy to have it after that discussion after the.
Yes.
Here.
Open it up in the server management studio. So you can't really compare it because SMS is more like an interface for you to work with your databases, whereas Fabric is more than that. The concept of one, like where you have your structured, unstructured data, you have concept of data flows, you have the concept of visualizations, RTI, whereas SMS is more of like an interface for you to work with your SQL database.
And super technical.
With the lake process.
Let's say I have on-premises data center.
Mhm.
Okay, my SQL databases lies in my premises, my servers. So is it possible to integrate them with Fabric?
Yes. Yes. So there is a concept of mirroring.
Fabric is definitely adding the value.
Yes.
Because I have a warehouse there in the Fabric, it is integrated with the Power BI. So
Yes.
So think of one thing as like a OneDrive for your data. So, and you can still use the tools that you know and love, like SSMS, to then access that data. So you bring all of your data in one place with the one lake, and then you can access it via Code, SSMS, your notebooks, or another. We have, I think, an hour-ish.
Good. Super. So the last element which I want to show you before jumping into the VS Code and the demo is take a look. I have a schema, DBO. Then I have a table with 2 columns. I have visualization. What are the types of the columns? And now I also would like to take a look at, what's the format? I can review all of the details here. And now let's go back to properties here. There is a properties view files. I want to show you something. Yes, it's here. So we see a table, but what's behind the table? Behind the table, I'm getting Parquet's files. As we discussed previously, one more way. So here, because the data is very small, I have just one, but Parquet file. On top of the Parquet file, I'm getting the folder with metadata that is describing us what's inside it, what's inside the Parquet files, what are the modifications that we did. It's also giving us an ability to version what were the modifications on that data. What it means, it's kind of a Git for your data. But we are getting the delta log. The delta log, which is here, beautiful, very long JSON with tons of different settings, tons of different informations that for us, maybe as a newcomers for Fabric, it doesn't make sense to know all of them. But for those who will and are using Fabric later on and longly, lots of optimizations will come from this central place, meaning that delta table is a Parquet file, at least one, or a multiples, and then on top of that, metadata JSON file that is describing what we have in the data. And Spark, once it's starting processing the data, for the very first time, what it's doing, reading metadata, and thanks to it Spark will know what is there, and then it's starting processing the data. Okay, so we touched that. Now I would like to show you the descriptive way, and the descriptive way means that we will go to VS Code. So my development stack is Visual Studio Code, even though in the past I was a lover of PyCharm, IntelliJ. At the same time, I believe as of now, there is no better environment than VS Code. VS Code combined with GitHub Copilot. So my productivity changed drastically once I started and I bought GitHub Copilot license. Here, not advertising, but it's really a game changer. Why? Because I'm getting an agentic mode. So I installed VS Code. Then later on, I have a GitHub account. Then I enabled GitHub Copilot. And thanks to it, I'm having an agentic mode. And here I have access to multiple models. Take a look. I have the standard models, GPT.
All in one license.
Exactly. And please raise a hand who is using similar stack. So just a few people. The rest.
That everyone can agree that they love from Microsoft.
Yes, and it's free. is free to use. VS Code is free to use. GitHub Copilot, it's also, there is a free tier, and the premium tier, again, I have the highest is $39 per month. It's a lot, but take a look. How many models do I have? Or I'm going to show you the impact that is bringing.
Plus the MCP servers, which you're going to show us as well.
Exactly. So here,
Zoom in a little bit for the folks at the back. Can everyone see?
so VS Code, GitHub Copilot, and then MCP servers or CLIs. Lots of things that MCP servers are doing and helping us. I believe that Copilot, GitHub Copilot, is handling, we don't need MCP servers. In fact, we need GitHub Copilot with using Azure CLI. It's good enough. But having MCP servers sometimes is better to troubleshoot the errors. Why? Because if we use GitHub Copilot, that is writing some CLI command, it can do mistakes, and it's learning from mistakes. Whereas MCP servers are parsing the schema, and they know what type of the input they need to send to the specific server. So it's wiser to use MCP servers.
And for those of you, think of them as Azure. You have to write the logic yourself, you have to actually write the functions and so on. If that product exposes an MCP server, all you have to do is just connect to it, and then your AI would know how to do certain stuff.
Yeah. And I would say that, like, let's treat MCP server, and here I enabled, so I here MCP server list. I have a few ones. So just a side note, I built my for myself MCP server that is handling my Outlook, my Teams, and all of the other stuff. So I'm just telling send the weekly notes to my CEO and write him a nice message. Nothing more, not going there and configuring. But this is the future. MCP server, just to get the actions, not to going to different tools. MCP server needs to handle and integrate that. So that's why you see this Dr. Kot Outlook. Orchestrator. Let's say that as a just on a high level, yes, it's kind of orchestrator with which I can talk to and which is handling talking to other services. Right now, without MCP servers, you need to write a service based on the REST API, and then schema, lots of mess, retrials. And here, MCP server, yes, handle that for me. If there is an error, solve it, but handle the job.
Like the fact team already spent the effort to write those things for you, and they created you a place where you can just connect to your client and then start using those services. So GitHub Copilot is the client, and the server in this case is like Fabric MCP server. But you can connect to so many MCP servers. Almost every other tool right now, or we have more MCP servers coming out every other.
The only limitation is that in VS Code, here you can see I have 342 selected connections. It's the maximum allowed is 128. That's why I need to not delete, and disallowed a few ones. For example, this one is not needed, and this one is not needed as well. I need to go down, decrease it. I need Fabric, or maybe I'll start with that.
So what's the step to get here? Do you need to do anything before you connect to the Fabric MCP server?
So there is an instruction how you can set up Fabric MCP server. Frankly speaking, if you have VS Code and GitHub Copilot here, put a note, meaning that write the comment, install for me Fabric MCP server based on this official URL. And then the tool will solve that for you. So you'll not have to handle all of the server connections and so on. I mean, that's why I said, can't imagine right now the development without those tools, because it's just wasting the time that can be utilized for more projects, different projects, more interesting stuff. So I have MCP server for Terraform as well, for DevOps. So for example, I don't need to go to DevOps to do a pull request or write the documentation. It's just handled by.
Do we have people who use Terraform infrastructure as code? Oh, interesting. Bicep? Not even Bicep. Okay.
Okay, so I think I would now slowing. I have an MCP server for documentation. And just to show you the error, let's start asking him, hi. And it should show, yes, exactly. I'm not allowed to have more than 128 tools in my request. So here I need to disable, you can see 144. That's why I will disable this one. And super Fabric.
So for those of you who don't know Terraform or Bicep, anyone familiar with infrastructure as a code as a concept?
Yes.
So just think of it like, when you go to provision a service on the cloud, there's certain sequences of steps you do, right? You have to go to the UI, click on create a resource group, name it, choose a region, put tags, and then deploy it, and then so on. But what if you want to streamline this? What if you don't want to do it through the interface? What if someone has a requirement to deploy AI Foundry in this region and these security controls are in place? Why do you have to do it through the UI? Like as developers, we like everything through code. So this is where infrastructure as code comes in. You have the popular ones being Terraform, Bicep is native, it's directly from Microsoft as well, that you could use to streamline your operations. So you can easily control what resources get deployed and so on.
So imagine, like in the context of education, the primary school is using UI for everything. The high school and the next level is using blending that. But the university of using the technologies is descriptive, meaning that we are writing a solution once for one project, and then we are, building those blueprints, those puzzles that for the next projects we are reusing. Example, take a look. So I have just VS Code and then GitHub Copilot. And inside this GitHub Copilot, I put a link, install the MCP server for Fabric, nothing more. Good. Hello, use Fabric MCP server. Tell me what workspaces do I have in my account? No more. Take a look. There are a few. And last modified.
So basically what's happening is instead of me as a developer, finding all the stuff with the MCP server, I can just chat with it and then I get the information?
Yes. Yes, exactly. So I can chat and start working on a Fabric. And now let's go back to Fabric just to be sure that we are inside CTO minus or dash Spark. Okay? Take a look. I want you to focus on CTO Spark workspace. Tell me what is inside this workspace. Okay. I'm getting the items, types, created and last modified. And I'm getting the summary. Oh, and even the agent is asking me, would you like me to explore the contents of the building data lakehouse? Yes. So explore. What's there? What's inside this lakehouse?
And of course here I can do these actions because I'm a member of this workspace and I have the right permissions to do so.
Because
the MCP server respects all of that as well.
All of the permissions, yes.
All of the authentication and authorization happens through Entra ID, other known as Azure Active Directory. So once you define it there in Entra, and then everything else follows as well.
Take a look. We got a task that, tell me what's inside this lakehouse. And we are getting a beautiful summary. Imagine a task that you have to create the documentation for your project, not anymore without the MCP and Copilot. So, okay, we got lots of data. Here summarize. What else we should do? In that case, let's go back to the scenario. So there is a lakehouse, there is a data. So now let's do some processing. I would like you to build me a notebook based on Spark SQL that will process the data insight from the lakehouse. Now let's put the lakehouse name, building data. I want those computations to be insightful. Also, okay, just that. Let's allow agent to code. So
Where did you get the Azure Cosmos DB instructions from?
So this is my local context. This is my local context. This is a great catch, but explanation was that this is the agent. There's a specific, like generic type of the agent, but if and many times if I'm working on a specific solution, specific MCP server, and I have a specific way of authoring a code, then I can add a more context here. And one of the contexts that was visible here was related to Cosmos DB, as I was having a blueprint how to work with Cosmos DB database. But it's showing you that basically both are possible. Frankly speaking, the same happened with prompts. At the beginning, we were starting with prompts engineering. Now, AI is writing the prompts. So frankly speaking, this Cosmos DB instructions were created by AI as well. Okay, so in the meantime, my agent is just building the solution for me. You can we will explore and go with this scenario, but nothing more will happen. We'll just use this way to build the pipeline, even build the data pipeline in a visual way, to build the notebooks, to ask for the deployment code, to ask for Power BI dashboards. So everything from a central place. And because we are inside VS Code, behind Git push to repo, everything synchronized. But here, let's see what's the result, where we are. So we got comprehensive SQL notebook. Okay, fantastic. The notebook is located here. So let's take a look locally. First of all, locally. Okay, this is a notebook prepared for me. Looks good. I'm content. I want to start using that in Fabric. What I should do? Two options. Either manual. We will import that manually. The opposite side is, yes, I would do the git commit to a specific repo, and my workspace would be on the specific repo with this change. We will automatically pull it, nothing more. But just to show you that also we can import manually the notebooks. Let's go to CTO Spark. Here, import notebook, but take a look. You can import the paginated reports here, just a notebook. And now the biggest challenge. Where is it's educator community, demo. Demo notebooks building system, okay. Okay, the time is exactly like that, but the size is 0. Why? Good catch. I need to put Control S. Let's keep. Lovely. Open. Imported successfully. Let's go inside. Now I need to add a lakehouse, so a source of data to every notebook. And documentation has been already prepared for me, right? So no need. I added the lakehouse. Here, I assume there will be some error related just to the lakehouse path, but let's see. let's see, let's try it. So just run a command. Oh my God, there is no error. So even MCP server did not do a mistake with messing with Lakehouse path. It figured out where the files are located. Hopefully, but now it's just a print. Let's see. Let's load the data. Take a look for those who want to see what's happening behind. Spark is running a few jobs, reading the worst format for data, which is CSV. But yes, it is what it is in majority of the scenarios. When I was running the statistics as part of the product group, majority of the people are using Excel and CSV files. Yes, but the future is Parquet, because like you start with CSV and then you learned Parquet and Delta tables and you realize that it's zero cost and it's faster, more pleasant and more bulletproof for the errors. So here, yeah, of course.
The structure keeps changing, day by day. They'll add 2 columns today,
Yes.
tomorrow.
That's why we have the Dyson analogy, and then we have one engine fabric, tubes, and just the endings that are making sure that we can clean the environment. Yes. So here,
Have
dynamic schema, yes, and appending the data without destroying the structure, yes.
To Parquet and then deciding upon partition. How would you do that?
Good question. The question is about partitioning. So it's more about what are the techniques to optimize the storage, which is always decoupled from compute. So here, majority of the people are not partitioning data. That's the reality. And the feature to handle with this reality is liquid clustering, which is more about engines optimization. But if you know what is partitioning, so structuring the data in the most optimal way for querying, is great. And now partition by what? Usually people are partitioned by the year, month, and day, because we are doing many times with the data that are coming from the events. So once you, and here, the medallion architecture, so bronze, landing zone, silver, and gold. So with a bronze, you write everything as it is. To the silver, you are starting modifying. Majority times, when you write the data to a bronze, you are already partitioning. If you are using real time, you are already partitioning by the date. Question?
About Fabric, how he can build the query for unstructured data? Because as I know, Fabric convert unstructured data.
Unstructured data, yes.
The question about how he can build the query.
How to build the query for unstructured data. Give me an example.
For example, we have an image.
Image.
Fabric, he will make analysis.
Yes.
And save it in structured data.
Yes. Parsing.
How will he build a query for this person in, for example, I wanna bring you some ask some question about the file or the image. For structured data, we had image. How we can build this query?
Yes.
My question about structured data.
So unstructured data, let's assume that we have image, which is we have PDF. So let's assume we are in a use case of having lots of PDFs landing on one lake. We want to have an ability to do we want to do BI for those PDFs. So the first element is let's land as a files, or if those PDFs are in the ADLS Gen 2, you don't need to move the data to Fabric, because through shortcut, you have access to ADLS Gen 2. So in your scenario, let me draw it.
It's Azure Data Lake storage. It's a storage account and on Azure. So if what Dr. Estera is saying, if you have the data already in storage accounts, which a lot of folks already do, you can just easily shortcut it into Fabric, and then we'll see how we'll.
Yes. Scenario. We have invoices as PDFs in ADLS Gen 2. Now, through shortcut, and I'm putting S shortcut, we are connecting that with our Fabric 1 lake. Now, what we do? First of all, we create a notebook, so N notebook, that we can also do that with the GitHub Copilot. So basically, we'll tell that in this ADLS Gen 2, I have invoices in PDFs. And now I want to parse that and structure and save in the form of table. So what you need to do is design what's the end table. Usually, there are just a few entities that you are interested coming from invoices, for example. But what is happening inside Notebook is installing all of the libraries that are needed to parse and transform the PDF to, usually PDF to text and text to tables. So Notebook is doing installing the libraries, opening a file, each of them transforming, and at the end saving to, you decide. You can save to a text file. You can transform the PDF to CSV as well, whatever, the binary as well. If we would deal with the medical data to 0, 1, so to binary data. But in this case, you install everything what's needed to produce the appendix to a table. Because what you are usually interested in coming from the PDF, invoice.
Yes, you don't use the query. You use semantic search. Yes.
There are different ways. Like there are different products like Azure Data Intelligence that is doing this OCR. So here, there are thousands of ways how you will do that. But at the end, I'm just showing you that whatever the data source is format, you can at the end produce a table, structure table. And this parsing, because of writing the notebooks, yes, you are authoring this mechanism, what you will take to a finance table and what you will skip. So let's go back to the demo. You've seen it, and we came up with a prompt in a flight.
So I want to add something to this question. So when we are getting the data, it means we are not actually extracting the images to Fabric. We are only taking the metadata.
Yes.
So at the end, if the user wants to search, it's going to use the shortcut to get the image from the data source itself. But with the metadata, they can use it to call it out. So
again, as I said, there are thousands of ways here just to implement it. But here, yes, you can take the metadata, meaning what's the name of the file, what's the path of the file, and what's the as well. There is a summary function in Fabric Functions, Microsoft Fabric Functions, which will summarize what's inside. And then in the future, once you have an agent and you are looking for a specific invoice, it will tell you to go to the specific path. But many times you want to run for the last week, summarize all of my invoices, what's my P&L. To do it in a flight and immediately, we want to have this parsing mechanism. So that's why I was more like into that I'm parsing and extracting the data coming from images, the data coming from the .x files, Word files, PowerPoints, whatever the assets are, as we want to get the use of them. Here, oh my God, what Fabric is doing? Creating lots of tables for us. Let's run all of them. Here, temperature analysis by the room, CO2 analysis by the room. Oh, let's run it. Let's run it. Pattern. And you saw that. I was not coding and even coming up with the questions, explanatory data analysis. Copilot was doing that for me. Now, anomaly detection, identifying problem rooms. I was not coding, and everything is here. I've seen that also the code was about creating some tables. Let's take a look what's happening here. Okay, some computations. Let's go back. I'm running all of them. Let's see at the end. I expect that at the end, I will get some dashboard that I will, I could sell and show that, yes, there is some knowledge coming from the data. Building health scorecard. A lot of use cases happened in a minute. And executive summary. Key findings, perfect. A notebook. And now let's, it will run.
Just following the
Yes, of course. Before making a production version of this one, I will review it, but it's just to showcase where the development with MCP, Copilot, and VS Code is. And okay, this is the notebook. I'm doing that once today. Imagine, let's go to production. And I want this notebook to be run every day. And there is the option to schedule this notebook. It will be run and adding that to a pipeline. But you asked also about data pipelines. Let me take a look. Let me show you that. So in the workspace, I will go to the workspace and click new item, notebook. I will create a test, and then let's create a notebook. So a clear notebook. I was supposed to create a pipeline. Sorry. So create a pipeline. Going here, let's create a new pipeline, pipeline 1. Pipeline is a data factory, is a data integration. I want to move from different sources. Take a look from immediate copy assistant, from pipeline activity, copy job, data flows, get metadata, and so on. Thousands, not thousands, hundreds, in fact, 200 connectors to different sources. You can really make the ability to take a look, copy to the specific, to move the data. But here you also drag and drop, select elements. And what we'll do, let's use Copilot. And one tip for working with Copilot, I'm always giving the price and points, maybe because it's very fragile for prices and categorization. So take a look. That'd be nice. So this is awesome. I give you 1 point. And it's, of course, summarizing, fantastic. Because we are using GitHub Copilot, we don't pay for tokens. So we can really talk and talk. We monitor the costs there and the usage. I'm using that for the last, at least a year, not a year, but a year for sure, for that heavy workload. And there was just a 1 month when I was running out of the credits. Now the pipeline. Points. So what I'm doing, I'm telling, create data factory pipeline that will orchestrate the notebook execution every day. And if everything is good, I want to get an email and Teams notification. If something is wrong, just give me the Teams notification. I could add, a pipeline of move the data, process. Someone asked about data flows. I will not use data flows for different reasons, but instead of going there and selecting categories, selecting the methods, group by, and so on, I will use GitHub came with the good solution. And there is a question.
Question about the stages. You talk about silver and gold.
Yes.
Yes. I think this is not a stage. You can give the fabric chance to build the prompt.
Yes. Yes.
You give it another name.
So we can give an outcome that we want to get and tell Fabric
Yes. And you
came up with the best solution. Yes.
You give first time chance for
Chance.
fabric to make analysis.
Yes.
And then you will build the prompt. As simple as yes.
Yes. Yes. And I believe that that's the future when we will tell our system what outcome we want to get, not what you should do, but outcome. Tell me.
What I mean, we can from beginning to inject the fabric or the prompt. And in this way, we can consume the time.
Yes. Put some pipeline. Let's test it. So we go to the workspace. There is no import mode. So I think that at this point, we would need to integrate with DevOps. Yes, we need to integrate with DevOps. Let's check the time. Oh, we are still. Because what we should get is exactly automated pipeline. And I will show you that from a different workspace, but we'll exercise also on that and check because it's live demo. Live demo is very nervous as things may not work, but let's risk. Here, the output of the pipeline, and I think I already published that on GitHub, there is a single prompt, and the single prompt is building us what is right now loading. So I use just a single prompt to get a true pipeline. So let's close the discard. It's loading. Internet is there, yes.
Yes. So essentially what you did is from data code, you prompted a pipeline to get
Yes.
data from what source to what destination?
So I prompt that because you build a notebook, this is a nice notebook. I want a pipeline that will run this notebook every day. And if everything is going well, send me email notification and Teams notification. And if there is an error, send me Teams notification. But I could say that build me a pipeline that will move my data from SAP for HANA and then process the tables and land in a form that is required by my lakehouse. And then I will put the lakehouse name. Then I will say that send me the notification and with all of the statistics, how long the job take. Thank you. So basically, we build a pipeline with just saying what will happen, what should happen. The alternative approach would be, I want a pipeline that will do the effect.
Anyone uses Azure Data Factory? ADF pipelines? If you're familiar with ADF, it's a very similar experience, but with a SaaS flavor.
Yes. Oh, this is the visualization that the prompt is building. But I'm just right now showing like the different workspace because I have that connected. And just to show you exactly how our new JSON, so pipeline in the form of JSON will be visualized, I will need to connect to the DevOps. I'm happy to do it, but like it will take a minute or two. Do it. Awesome. Okay.
We still have 15 minutes.
Good. So let me clean the mess here. I have too many. I'm going to Git integration. I'm just checking in DevOps. I'm connected to my project. Oh, okay. Let me go there. It's com internal projects. Let's go there.
You're logging into your GitHub Enterprise account
Yes.
or
DevOps.
ADO?
Azure DevOps. where I have organization COM Clouds on Mars internal projects, and I have a project COM 2.0.
Do we have Azure DevOps users here in the room? Okay, a couple.
Here, I can manage a board with lots of my tasks, so Jira experience. At the same time, what's the most important for me, 2 artifacts. One is repos, so Git repositories. From the other side, pipelines. Descriptive way, especially if we are using YAML or any other types of automation, but the descriptive way to build the pipelines. So here, let's take a look. I have a repo, and I have a few repos. Let's check which one I'm using here. Git repo Spark optimization, Git repo Spark optimization, this one, super. So the context. This is a repo, Git repo inside DevOps. This workspace is based on the specific repo. So if tomorrow we need to create a new workspace on top of the Git repo, it's possible once we synchronize the changes. But you see the connection. Fabric is based on Fabric's workspace is based on the specific GitHub repo, and that GitHub repo is reflected, is visible here. What's missing? My local development was happening, we don't know where, but let's figure out. Okay, it's amazing. I have a Git. By the way, take a look. Ready to claim my point? Do I get it? So the tool get used to getting the points. So the question will be, what's the best strategy to get the outcome? Being nice or? In the future, I don't want this AI to punish me.
How Fabric XML server and GitHub Copilot. If you're someone new to Fabric, you can still get things done through
Yes.
integration.
If you are new, the tool will teach you how to do it. If you are advanced, the tool will make your work faster. Yes.
With this, we are not able to learn.
Excuse me?
With the tools, with this Copilot, we might not be interested to learn because it makes the work easy. You know what is going on the ground.
Yeah, that's a good point, but I think that's where it comes to you as a data engineer, right? Like there's been actually a study recently, like the quality of the prompts and the outputs of your sort of AI generated code depends on how knowledgeable you are. So the more knowledge you have on how this works, the better you would know what to ask and you would know how to evaluate. But definitely nothing beats. Yeah.
Of course.
Still need to get your DP 600 certification.
And again, at the beginning, because working for PG, many times there is one topic I know more than ChatGPT. And I could see, for example, also testing my students when they took the answer from GPT and when not. But there are not so many topics, and we are not, in majority of our works, we are not experts in every singular field. Many times we are on a specific level and we don't know more. But now seeing the evolution of this agentic AI experience, when we are adding our databases, our knowledge bases, our not only the prompt engineering and better contexts, but also having ability to use Azure AI search to search on top of our data and knowledge base. I see that more and more time, there are cases where really there are the knowledge with right access to data and prompt engineering. There is no knowledge that is not accessible for you. So you can really deep dive to a level of the creators of the specific technology. It's there, just write the approach to combine and access it. Yes, accessibility of the knowledge, democratization of the knowledge. Yeah, and here there will be some conflicts. Let Git handle it. Of course, I should have a clue what's the difference between Git merge and Git rebase, but because of it, we have still and highly encouraging to finish the technical education. But in majority of the cases, because IT is so pulling, we need the right tool that is helping us to do the job and not to be a scientists and researchers, because for those reasons there are universities. But for us is to do the work for the companies. That's why, okay, it deployed. Let's see. Let me check. Okay, so you updated. Let's create the pull request. There is a merge conflict. But maybe I will switch. There is merge conflict. In that case, I will do a trick. Maybe some of you will follow me. For those who knows deployment pipeline. They changed the UI a few days ago, and it was looking differently. So yeah.
Synchronize my workspaces, is it?
Yes, exactly. So Git CI/CD, and again, because I'm coming to home in a week, I'm happy to do it in a week, but like next week during the next talk, because this is a very complex and not easy topic, how to use and properly do CI/CD for Fabric, meaning that there are some tools that are doing that automatically, like deployment pipeline, deployment, switching from development to staging to production. At the same time, because this is a super complex platform, deployment pipeline is helping us in some aspects, because we are talking about CI/CD for code, but also the data ops, so CI/CD for data, and much more. That's why CI/CD for Fabric means deployment pipelines. It means also Azure DevOps and deployment pipelines, which are different in like messing, but yes, it's different inside Azure DevOps, meaning Fabric CI/CD library and Fabric CLI. So 4 tools that are making sure that your solution, if you are designing Fabric for enterprise, that's bulletproof, but it's about combining 4 of them. Okay, I'm right now based on my main. So what is happening? I push the changes to the repo. There is a conflict. That's why I have a feature branch. And now either I will push directly to main, or I will switch and branch out to the specific feature branch. Maybe that's the way.
It has a conflict.
Yes. But the thing is that I worry that I will have a lot of conflicts because I was messing with my repo. Sorry. And yeah. Oh no, it's just a readme.
Except one of them.
Let's accept this one. Merging.
So we could see how with this feature, if I have a big data team and they're all working on the same workspace, I could easily manage it through the source control.
Yeah, and take a look. So we merged, and now we were notified that there are some changes. Let's see. No. Like, I'm happy to code whatever is needed. At the same time, this is the top complexity showing you this connection. VS Code, GitHub, Copilot, enterprise subscription, having access to lots of models, connecting and installing MCP, and then just doing whatever is needed for the work. There is Power BI, MCP server. There is Azure, Microsoft Fabric, RTI, MCP server. The sky is the limit, but for sure that's the direction. And here, with using the DevOps, so reflecting the changes is Git, you can basically code without coding, so deliver the impact without spending and over inventing the wheel for it.
SQL DB.
On-prem SQL DB, yes. So you can integrate with Fabric once there is a specific mechanism. Also, the devil is in details in terms of the version, but long story short, the way how you can access the data from Fabric is using shortcuts. So ADL agent was the example. So basically, we are just pointing and telling where the data are located, and because the data within the Fabric Azure ecosystem is accessible. The second type is mirroring. And for that one, we are connecting, we need on-prem gateway, and we are connecting your on-prem SQL server with Fabric by mirroring the data which are on-prem and making that accessible for Fabric. Okay, so in demo, we have a demo, we have pipelines, we have a BMS pipeline. Okay, the pipeline is the same. In terms of Lakehouse, we have also the accesses there. This is our notebook. Everything is sync. It's empty, and I think, so don't want to jump and skip it, but so we have a JSON here. Maybe I will finish in a week if that would be possible. Yes. Okay. Yes. Super. So the reality is that once, like, this is a bulletproof setup, meaning that you create the code, the pipeline in a JSON format, commit that to the GitHub repo in a GitHub, like DevOps here, but Git repo. Here you have a reflection of all of the items. Take a look how many of them for each of the environment, notebook, data pipeline, and so on. You have a specific representation of that artifact. Here, take a look, Spark Performance Compete Notebook, just the folder name, but behind it, you are getting a Python file with Jupyter Notebook, so the notebook that is behind Microsoft Fabric. And because of it, once we synchronize this Git repo with Fabric, we are getting the reflection in terms of the items. And from the other side, once I create a new item here, let's say that I'm using the Dataflow Gen 2. Let's create it.
Graphs, because it's essentially our query engine to fetch data from all different sources and then put it into destination like the lake house or a data warehouse or even to a SharePoint folder as well.
Yeah, exactly. Importing from Power Query files. But because I added this data flow here, I should do some transformations as well. But because it's here, you can see it's uncommitted. That's why data source is already reflecting that there are some changes. I click commit. The changes are committed, meaning that the changes are going to be reflected where? Here in the repo. Let's take a look.
Roll back to a specific.
Yes, and that would be the second like workshop I would love to propose in the future, which will be exactly about this element. What is the branch? How to create the workspace based on the new branch.
Coffee tumblers here that are up for grabs. Hamza, I don't want you to give me that look. You're not part of this. So Dr.